Hey, sweet beings. Greetings from San Francisco. I'm here for the weekend visiting my good friend who's moving away. And as I was just lying here meditating, looking out the window, the beautiful, bright, sunny blue day, I was thinking about the future and feeling into this time of transition that we're in, this amazing time of revolution and shift, and how so much light seems to be pouring out into the collective and casting itself onto the shadows, and lots of judgment and ignorance and even hatred beginning to spill out and come into the light of awareness. And I was feeling that even in my own self. A couple of days ago, I was visiting my former partner, and she and I always have an amazing time together. And we also really show each other our shadows. And there was this beautiful opportunity we had for a deep healing and myself to see another part of my shadow, my resistance strategy that I was still invested in and recycling in my life. And I had this beautiful shift around a part of my resistance strategy that projects hatred or projects impatience onto society and onto other people and to where we are at large. That comes from my core pain of not belonging. You see, that strategy aimed to force people or force society to change so that it would be, in my view, a place where I could belong more easily. And in my healing, when I simply annihilated through that pain of not belonging, again, that possibility of not belonging to this kind of world, this profound sense of knowing of where we truly are on this path to collective self-discovery and where we're going, and that I could relax in the ease of being myself, and to extend that courtesy and that ease of acceptance and compassion to others, no matter where they are on their growth journey or what it is that they are exhibiting or projecting at me or into the world, with no agenda, simply holding that space of love and honor for everyone right where they're at. So this has deeply helped me in my work to be a better facilitator and coach that holds space for others to move through their pain as they're ready. And as I was meditating here, I just got a profound glimpse into the future of our planet. And while I'm not attached to whether or not this is true or whatever or where it came from, um, it was very interesting. And as I was resting, I sometimes this will happen in meditation. I'll connect with my multidimensional awareness that is beyond time or space, and I can move throughout that continuum at will. And sometimes it just takes me, and I'll go back to a moment when I was 14, or forward to a moment when I'm like 60. But this time, the scope of my travels was much larger, and I ended up going back to around the year 1000 and just feeling the energy, the density of the planet at that time and our society, and how everything worked. I even then went back further to the year zero. I was thinking about how interesting that when we decided to start counting time differently and there was a year zero, and just feeling into what I know about history, but also feeling that sense of decay that was happening around that time. And then year 1000 decay, and this beginning, this idea of starting to rebuild, and then forward another 1,000 years to the year 2000, when we seem to, in so many ways, be at this pinnacle of industrialism and pinnacle of materialism and consumerism, and the ease and convenience of accessing our resources or our perceived resources. And then I felt my energy jump forward to the year 3000, year 4000. And what I felt was really fascinating to me. Around the year 3000, I saw the whole world being like a metropolis of activity, and um, there being profound earth changes that had happened, so much so and so devastatingly so that this pathological part of our humanity, like this idea that we need to hurt others or kill others or protect our own resources or make ourselves better than others in order to secure our way of life was really no more. It seemed to be not on the planet at all, or what was left of it was very little and experienced more on a personal level or with interpersonal relationships than on a macro societal level. And I saw that because of this release of this idea that, races or creeds or whatever differentiates us means that we're uh, not one human family was gone. And because of this, it felt like the energy of the planet was raised to such a degree that other beings and other solar systems, aliens, if you will, had then contacted us, and there began to be this interspace travel between us and them, and these galactic um, relationships starting to form. I saw the Earth continuing to change in a really big way, as if she was uh, getting a temperature or getting sick in order to heal her body and to regenerate herself from all of these many years of abuse that in our unconsciousness we have done to her. And so there was this dichotomy that it seemed like as the human consciousness, collective consciousness, was raising into higher vibrations, the seeming state of the planet was declining. I felt lots of volcanic activity, lots of earthquakes. I felt lots of redistributing of water, big floods, new land masses coming up, crazy climate shifts that was really unexpected. And as the time kept going forward, I saw more and more people actually leaving the planet and going to other places in our starships. And the just because of the state of the Earth is changing so much. And then as it went forward, maybe even to around the year 4000, I saw these cities, and there were very few of them. There wasn't that many. Most of the metropolis of the Earth had then went into decay or was actually reclaimed by her, either through lava or water or winds or sands or whatever it is. I saw so many cities just completely abandoned, and then I saw these new cities. There was just a scattering of them over the planet. They're very large, but they're like they had this dome around them. And I heard the word climate control, and somehow we have invented devices that creates this dome of energy around the city that can control the climate within. And I saw these cities very utopian. There were also free energy devices, so all of the energy needed to sustain a very wonderful life was completely free and generated by these free energy devices. Everyone was just doing what they loved. There was lots of education, exploration, joy, sharing. Really, really beautiful. It truly felt like a utopian society inside of this bubble that we basically kept at the temperature and lightness and whatever that we wanted. Outside of that bubble, of course, I felt even still the earth undergoing her profound and prolonged healing process of regeneration. And I saw that there was no more like air travel at that time. Most of the humans had left, and very occasionally a starship would come in. But for the most part, we traveled inside the earth, and I saw these um, like vehicles that we would get in. They looked like squares or rectangles, and they had some kind of device on it where it would go down to and it would dematerialize the ground or the earth and move into that spot, and then it would rematerialize behind. So it wasn't like a drill, or there wasn't tunnels or anything like that. It literally just went straight down through, and then that's how we traveled from city to city, was actually through the crust of the earth in these amazing vehicles somehow. So I was really marveling at these visions and watching the unfolding of humanity, and I couldn't help but relate it back to the context of where we are now, or even the context of my lifetime, or all of our lifetimes now, which couldn't be, who knows, but I wouldn't think more than 100 years or so. And what does that mean to put these kind of visions in the context for now? Well, what I was thinking of is this awareness of pain. And really what I do with my work in divine human training, I help people to see how they're invested in their pain, preoccupied with it, perpetuating it, recycling it, when pain is simply this consequence of our dual world that we've created in order to experience all of this wonderment of human experience. And Indeed, there shall always be this reflection of pain, this idea of pain, as if, like in that vision of the world becoming chaotic again or volcanic, but still this human society that was flourishing in light. And if we can look at the things happening now, the advent of earth changes, socio-political changes that are happening, and look at what, no matter which side you feel yourself to be on of this movement, this shift that's happening, to be able to have profound compassion for this idea of the other side or the resistance, and knowing that our pain connects us, and that's why we are invested in it so much, because at an early age we learn to connect and earn love, or get the idea of love and connection back through our willingness to take on the pain of our parents or take on the pain of others, to sacrifice our natural state of being in order to hold that pain. And it's a perfectly natural thing to do. And when these big earth changes happen, or when the financial collapse happens, we will all be suffering so much that this idea of caring about someone's sexuality or gender identity, or how much money they have or don't have, or what color their skin is, or what religion they come from or culture they're in, these things suddenly become meaningless when we look at each other in the exact same devastation of loss that we're experiencing. And so in that, in the embracing of the pain, we access a state that is beyond what we could lose, to that place of eternity that's always here within us, guiding us and bonding us. It's the part of us that's interconnected beyond pain. And that's what's available to us as we embrace the pain and no longer resist it and move through it. We access this field of love and of oneness that has nothing to do with pain. In so doing, we then shift our value of pain, right? We value it as this opportunity to create contrast and context for experiencing our light and our love. And we embrace it as that. We welcome it into our experience, but we no longer need to recycle it or be preoccupied with it or keep reinforcing it and going around and around with that, right? We just simply lose interest in the process and lose interest in the battle and the fight and the need to be right. And we love one another. So I'm just wanted to share all this with you and see what you think about it, how that feels, and how you can consider the impact of some of these ideas in your own way of relating to yourself personally and your own personal pain, and also the way that you're considering what's going on in the world right now, what's going on with this election and everything else. And to realize that the advent of realizing yourself as a divine human, a human that is self-aware and a living manifestation of that wholeness and that unity that I call divine, is inevitable. And we don't have to wait. We can surrender and relax into it now. So I'd love to hear what you think about some of the things I've shared, and the impact that it has on you. And as always, if you're interested in learning more about what I'm up to with Divine Human Training, check out mysoulscompass.com. Bye!